G'day everyone, welcome to LinkedIn Lids Off, another episode 6. Geez, we're getting along here. It's a little bit colder today, but we're going to trudge through and get on with it. As usual, we're talking about hacking flow state. And as you guys know, what we're trying to do here is find the frothers, find people who are operating just at that higher level so we can steal a bit of their magic and steal a bit of their froth. Now today, I'm pretty excited about this one. We're going a little bit sciencey. So we've got Dr. Tom Longworth coming on. We're in his backyard. It's quite a delicious backdrop too. Tom is a doctor of sports medicine and actually the assistant club medical officer at the Sydney Roosters. So if you don't know, the Sydney Roosters are an NRL club, one of the top tier NRL clubs in Australia. Very, very high quality sporting club. So we'd like to introduce Tom. Welcome to Find the Frothers, Tom.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. Tom, sorry. So yeah, mate, let's just kick off. What does frothing mean to you? And maybe just mention a frother in your life.
Yeah, well, frothing's always been, it's been something I'm well aware of. Growing up in Sydney as a surfer, like frothing was a big word around the surfing fraternity, and now it's, you know, come into the bigger space of work and everything else, so that's great. Again, a frother in my life. When I first finished uni, I probably wasn't surfing as much as I should have been. Met a guy up on the Central Coast where I lived with, and he was just a full frother, Nick Baulderstone, and just got me back into surfing every day, twice a day, down at Avoca Beach. So yeah, he's a guy that sticks in my mind as a big frother.
Awesome. I'm from the Central Coast, so like got a lot of time for that. So yeah, go Nick. So what we want to talk a little bit about today, and as I mentioned about science, is we're talking about peak performance, and actually that ties in perfectly with athletes and the way that they sort of channel the right levels of arousal, like right levels of froth to hook into the peak performance, I guess, is what we're trying to say. How does that roll out across your profession and with the Roosters?
Yeah, and I think it's a big thing in professional sport, and when you asked me this question, I did think of performance and arousal levels, and I think you can line up arousal levels with froth levels. So I have something that I speak to a lot of my young players about, being in that right level of arousal or that right level of froth to get your best performance. And there's a bit of a little graph here, if you can see this one.
We prepared earlier.
Which we prepared earlier. A graph that basically has performance going up here and your froth levels across here are arousal. And every athlete needs to find this middle area, which is your peak level of performance. And for some guys, that's going to be, they need to be really buzzing to get on the field, and other guys not so much. But pretty much everyone, if you're too low, you haven't had your coffee on the day, or you just haven't had enough sleep, you're not really functioning very well, you're not going to perform very well. And on the other side of it, if you're too anxious and you're too aroused, you're probably going to make errors, and you're probably not going to make the best decisions on the field. So very much froth levels play into that you need enough, but probably not too much.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, because I think you can, I hadn't really thought about having too much froth. Like, too much froth is just like, come on. But if you think about it, and especially if you take that into your business life, when you're getting too many different opinions thrown at you, or too much froth, can actually make you a little bit anxious and really hard to work out what direction you should be taking. So I think that's really important, is to make sure that you get the right amount of froth for you, which we will work out, and then take that forward with you into the day, and don't overload too much, which I think sometimes can happen at conferences and things like that. Not that they're bad, they're fantastic. Go to more conferences, listen to more frothers. But yeah, that's awesome, mate. So I'd like to hear a bit more about the science. Is there any players or anyone in particular? I'm thinking Al Pacino, you know, Any Given Sunday, when he does that talk. Is there any situations or anything in particular in the sports space where that froth really comes out?
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, that's a good example, the halftime talk from the coaches. Sometimes the players just, especially your younger guys, and you know those guys in sports that just turn off.
Yep.
And they need someone to pick them back up, and they need, on our graph there, they need someone to pick them back into that level, and that's usually going to be the coach's role or the senior player's role, and halftime's a good time to do it, and it's a privilege to be in the change sheds when that goes on, and you can sometimes see the team comes out completely different. It's not because they got a better player in the halftime break, it's because their froth levels change and they perform better.
Yeah, shit, yeah. And that definitely applies to business, like your CEO or your team leader or whoever it is, can just pop in, and like having them present and like sharing their froth and, you know, helping you through the tougher times as well as celebrating the wins is super important. Okay, now some questions. I got you. Yeah. So I'm going to frame this better this time. a past frother, someone who has left us now, but maybe they've left us physically, their body's gone, but their froth still lives on. Who would you really like to connect with if you could? A past frother.
Yeah, well, I thought straight away of someone like Muhammad Ali. Obviously, no one that we personally know, but from reading and watching documentaries and everything else, he seemed like a guy who was very passionate, not just about his sport, but about political ideas and, you know, pushing for change in the USA. And he's a guy, I think a guy I would have loved to have met to feed off some of his froth.
Yeah, and I think like practicality about that as well. I think we had music last week, but man, listen to like some of his speeches. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. George can't hit what his hands can't see. Yeah, so that's like you listen to that and you're like, fuck, that fires you up. So you can steal Muhammad Ali's froth just by hitting a YouTube clip or listening to some of his audio. So that's awesome. Okay, now hit me with a live frother, someone that we probably will connect with because we'll eventually find all the frothers, won't we?
Yeah, I hope so. Again, I go back frothing, I just go back to surfing, and John Florence, for me, the best surfer in the world, just seems like a full frother. He sort of takes it back and just obviously loves the ocean, and his training is just surf, sail, paddleboard, swim, and he just seems to love it so much that it's not a job for him, it's just froth. That's
so much froth. Like LinkedIn LidsOff comes from the creativity and power of the ocean, and that's where it started. So yeah, got a lot of time for John. Hey mate, if you're watching this, okay, and just to wrap it up, mate, is there anything that you'd like to say to your colleagues or people that you work with about, you know, something a little bit more about froth, or like a little message that you'd like to throw out there to them?
Well, considering today, Saturday, obviously it's winter. Guys have got no shirt on, but it's winter. Roosters are playing in a couple of hours over in New Zealand, so I want the boys to be at their right level of froth and get the win over the Warriors. That'd be ideal.
Yeah, always love the Aussies beating the Kiwis.
Yeah.
Sick stuff, mate. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to learning more about froth state from a scientific perspective. So, yeah, thanks for coming on, mate, and good luck.
No worries. We go, all right?
Good, man.